they had the damage, they didn't have the control, right? Because of the lateral lifts up that was consistently there from Delvin, it was consistently repositioning the members of Team Singapore where they were in positions that they didn't want to be.
Yep.
And once that was happening, Dinga Rai came in towards that back. What is that pose, my friend? Yeah, scuba, man. So
No.
7-0-12. He is doing so well on that goal play. Expected Leslie, well, 1v1 against the Claude. Well, Claude does way better right now.
17-12. Oh man, it's really unfortunate. Okay, you know what? You know what? The biggest part that is unfortunate. We didn't really quite get to see the reason or the tank coming in over here. Yeah, I don't know where that's coming from. I really want to know the answer. I don't want to jump into conclusion. But as far as we see it, the composition coming in from Team Singapore seems like they're trying to make their way into early game composition with the Hilda and the Bastian. That looks great. And then coming in with that Kimi, just be like, okay, that is going to be insurance policy playing for marksman, and you have decent amount of pressure in the early game as well. And then boom, let's be okay. I mean, throw out the window.
Yeah, I mean, the early game skirmishes were fine for inside Team Singapore, right? They went on to Alexander, which should have been the key target at level 1 to 2, and they did manage to get the first blood going towards their way as well. But they were unable to convert that objective and goal difference onto Delvin as well. So Delvin being left 5-0 and 14, Dingarai being left 7-0 and 12. And this is uncharacteristic where you see the Baxia, he's unable to go towards that bottom side of the lane at all because Team Indonesia, they were always presenting that pressure on the opposite side of the map. And this is what makes the Claude so good. When the pressure is off, he can solo farm for days.
There's just too many space that Team Indonesia managed to get for themselves, and there's so many windows that Indonesia can constantly just open up for themselves as well. While for Team Singapore, they have a lot of problems with that, right? In the early stages of the game, yes, we can definitely see that. You know, Jinsang is able to just dive into someone, Bellamy just constantly just hammering away. Those single target damage can really put quite a number on the members of Team Indonesia. However, right off from the start, the target prioritization is not exactly there. Roy constantly looking at Delvin, Jinsang is looking at Afan, Tristan is technically looking at the entire team in general. He wants to open things up and create opportunities for the entire team and dream for that big fight.
Yeah, I would say the win conditions and in terms of the target prioritization as well, right? It was completely off. In basketball terms, I would say maybe they were man marking and they were going on
Yep.
their man. And but instead, when it comes down to that win, they didn't focus on the basket, which would have been the main goal that they should have been focusing on.
Well, very good point on that. Take down a kind of like a Frenzy, for example. And in this case, it would have been great, but unfortunately, they weren't able to do that.
Yeah, I mean the pressure was way high up, right? You can
Yes.
see from the start, Dalvin he's able to just get the lantern onto everybody,
Yep.
and even when the threat of death was there, he's still consistently putting on that pressure. And this is the highlight of a good Lucian player, where you're able to put in that pressure consistently. You have to ultimately get out. You have maybe a purify, but in this case, he chose to go for that flicker because he knew that a shield unity would always be blocked by Alexander. That's clear trust in your team right there.
So we kind of move on from this point and kind of identify what is going to be the main problems. Is it really the juicing that's the problem, or is it more about the executions coming in from Team Singapore that is the problem? Technically speaking, we kind of have a nice little split in between of both of them, right?
Yeah.
We need to understand as number one, the target prioritization in order to get this composition to work out. If they want to go for a slightly simpler kind of gameplay like man marking, as you mentioned, then assassin or large firepower team composition generally will work out a lot better.
Yeah. So moving on to game number two, right? They need to think of a better way to deal with the Sin. They thought of using the Kimi, which did work in terms of the damage factor. But that's why we see the Eve instead of the Sin. I mean, it's the Eve instead of the Kimi being used to deal with the Sin because he has that rule of manipulation. He has that box to control as well, just to go with that control factor that the Sin brings into the game. Now, with that early game priority, I would say it was looking good. It was looking good for Singapore. I hope that they can keep this up. I hope that they can keep their spirits up as they go up against one of the best here, right? Team Indonesia are really one of the best.
Indeed. So as much as possible, we did definitely see Indonesia literally literally stormed over Team Singapore by, I guess, the mid-game mark. And technically speaking, Team Singapore, they were in a very difficult spot to begin with, right? When it comes down to macro and mechanically, there is definitely a experience difference. As Team Indonesia, one of the best in the world, well, in terms of region, right? So it's gonna be difficult, but we do want to see the best from Team Singapore regardless.
Yeah, I believe the best is yet to be, right? For Team Singapore, there was moments where we saw them in their prime. I hope that they can achieve that prime level, especially here once they have the opportunity to go up against a titan like Team Indonesia as well. And what spectacular gameplay coming through. We were saying, right? You were doubting the Claude. Well, you can't doubt the Claude, man. The Claude is good.
In a winning competition.
Yeah, and the losing composition is good as well.
We'll see. We will get there. Okay, so far, if a cloud is in a losing composition, we haven't exactly see a comeback mechanic as of yet.
Yeah.
Not yet, at least.
Now we do have that flying clouds. That map selection has been picked so far. And meanwhile, for the side of Team Singapore and Team Indonesia, that pick ban will be swapped up. Now, Team Singapore having that first pick. Yeah. So Fanny being banned out, Kalea for the side of Team Indonesia.
We'll see how that's going to go right now. So at least Fanny thrown away. I would like to believe that, till Freya of that will be thrown away as well. But technically speaking, it is more of a ban for Indonesia.
Yeah, I would say as well, right? And I would like to see if any of these top tier picks go through. And we did see the Marshall leak, right? And nobody
No
picked
one,
it up.
yep,
Nobody picked it up. No one cared about it. And yeah, it did come to bite them back into the fact that yeah, that golden hour could have been the saving grace if let's say Team Singapore did choose to pick it up instead of the Hilda as well. But they wanted the damage, they wanted the tank ability, and yeah, I can see that going in their favor as well, but didn't really work out in the first game. Now for the second game as well, Freya completely banned out, so we're not gonna be able to see Freya this game.
Yep. Maybe we also can talk about the fact that they have lack of utility, right? As the rogue trio, we are looking at the Hilda, Vancia, and Kimi. Kimi does have a lot of utility, or rather a lot of crowd control. You gotta have to agree. But however, you don't have a very surefire way to actually lock people down for extended periods of time, as opposed to if you have someone like an Atlas in a role position, or if you have a Joe in a role position, for example.
Yeah, and now with the Boxia being banned out, you gotta consider you gave Team Indonesia the combination of the scariest heroes that were possible. I mean, you get the two Sid, you have the Claude, you have the Frederick and the Arlon combo, and that is generally not given together. And Team Indonesia, if they have that combo, they're definitely gonna take it for themselves. Now, meanwhile, for the side of Team Singapore, what final ban do they go with? Do they want to ban out the Mosquito, or do they want to use it for themselves and force Team Indonesia to ban out the Mosquito?
To be fair, I do think that Tristan can play a pretty mean Makito, so taking away the Makito is not necessary to them. However, there are still a lot of open heroes. So, okay, great that they actually ban out the Tucson. But now it's up to Team Indonesia for what they want to ban. I think at this point in time, they would think of Marcel. I don't think that they are too particularly afraid of Marcel. Right now, what they might be looking for is number one, Makito needs to go, or we are just generally going to be looking out for Harris in this case.
Yeah, Harris as well. I mean, Paquito, there is also the possibility that they want to pick up the Frederick for themselves from inside Team Singapore, if let's say that's going to be the opener as well. And also for the side of Team Indonesia right now, they also have a lot of possibilities to go for that claw themselves. So Team Singapore right now, first pick.
Without a doubt, they gotta have to choose Makito.
Yeah.
If they kind of leave the Makito away and give the Makito over to Shauki, I would not believe.
That's just blasphemy, man. If you don't take the Paquito for yourself right now, Shao keep playing the Paquito, I'm quaking in my boots.
I don't want to see that. I really do not want to see that.
First pick, 20 seconds remaining. What do they open with? There's a Marshall. There is that Paquito. I would take the Paquito any day right now.
Any day. Like, if Indonesia were to take the Marcel, sure, so be it. There must be some way to get around
job of dealing with the Poquito, I guess. In terms of level 4, but you give it to one of the best Poquito players in the entire region, right? So do they go for it here? They go for the Claude and the Harley. Okay, okay, okay. I mean, because Team Indonesia, they don't need to go for Poquito right now, right? They can still go for it in third pick.
Yeah,
Because
because
the
it's
Phobias.
Phobias is ready out.
Oh no, now what side of Team Singapore? How do they answer back against a Claude? We saw that Leslie was an answer against a Holly as well. You need a tanky jungler. That Boxian has been banned out. You go for the Frederick here, but you don't have that armor as well. So generally against the Harley, you either go damage for damage or you go tank, right? And Frederick, yep, they might be the answer. Do they go for the Khalid? Ah, yes, they do. They do.
Okay, so very tanky. Um, Firepower wise, they really have enough the lead can, of course, set up for the team fight pretty effectively. Frederick comes in as a follow up from that point on, but who follows up afterwards, right? Understandably, with the mage pick as well as gold pick, I do not want to see a Leslie again once again. We do have a Eve though, so Rome got the even though getting the Eve to snap out of RMM is really important, but I don't think that the Gata Gata will gel very well with the Team Singapore.
I mean, for Team Indonesia, they have two choices here, right? Where they are going towards that team fight, or they want going towards that mobility. So if they're going towards that mobility, that kind of solo play that Cho is available, they want to go for that team fight together with the reorganization. They will have that high loss available as well, the tourist pathway, and yeah, there's just so much possibilities right now for the side of Team Indonesia and Team Singapore as well, right? But the Moscow band is very good in dealing with the Claude late game and also Spirit of Despair against the Harley.
So right now, Team Singapore they are lacking of a single mage and a gold laner, while for Team Indonesia they're looking for a roamer and an XP. There's still quite a lot of XP heroes that is actually currently kind of open, and the way that Team Indonesia is opening things with the Harley in the gold lane definitely does suggest that they can play very power heavy. Oh,
And they ban out the Leslie. I mean, they feel that it is.
it's a problem for Harley to some extent.
Yeah, it is a problem for Harley, and it is also a problem for Claude as well, especially in the laning phase. But we did see Dingarai just doing an extremely good job dealing with the Leslie as well. And now, for the side of Team Singapore, their final ban coming through, they might be looking towards that EXP lane. That Paquito is still there. He's still
Yeah.
there.
They can still ban a Paquito. Don't give it over to Chalky. Please don't.
Not too sure it's going to completely lead the pool here because Paquito Claude on paper, that is the dream lineup there.
It's kind of scary. But now, um, is it a point in time where it's like a no-brainer Paquito pick?
Well, you don't need to pick it now.
Don't have to.
Focus is on the other side, so you can pick it on the last pick as well. So they can definitely secure their roam pick right now, especially if they want to go for something like a Cho, and they go for the high lows instead. Yeah,
Okay.
so we have the RWM into the Glorious Pathway combo.
Is this bait for a carry?
Could be.
Sounds like a bait for a carry. But if they don't become a carry, what else can it possibly be? Because this does definitely seem for the side of Team Singapore, they do want to play a little bit towards late stages of the game. There's no carry to kind of go neck and neck together with
Bruno.
Yes. Bruno, I think Bruno would have too much problems dealing with Harley.
If you get the Haas clause early, maybe you can kind of out-heal the Harley first coming through. Yes, that's a possibility. The Harley seems to be very overfarmed here. They go for the Lilia and the Granger instead. Okay, I like this out of Team Singapore way more than the previous draft.
I mean, having a Granger better than Leslie, in my honest opinion, here, sure. But that also means that Team Singapore they are playing kind of a tempo-based game, not necessarily super early or super late. As long as they're able to snag any form of tempo, they will try to ride with it. But this is the kind of situation where you kind of mentioned before, jack of all trades kind of composition. They want to go from front to back.
It's definitely a front to back, it does work very well in terms of trying to hold on to the late game, but I don't see them having that entry point into that mid game as well, right? That taunt will be that only capability to go in, and once, for the first time, right, Mojito completely left the hole, they go for the Yutong instead, and I mean, by all means, Phobius very good against the Mojito. That's why we see one ban or the other. And now with the Yuzong as well, they secure that team fight. And also at the same time, I believe they're going to use Harley and Claw to secure that macro play.
Well, we'll leave it up to the members of Team Indonesia to show us what they have got with this draft, and of course, Team Singapore with theirs. As we jump right in, let's take a look at the overall composition here and talk a little bit more about the gold lane and the XP lane, and eventually down to the middle. So for the XP lane between the Phovis as well as the Yuzhong, Yuzhong definitely will have a very strong showing in the early stages, or rather the early laning phase, all the way until level 4. Phobius does have pretty annoying kit coming in when it comes down to demonic force, but nothing too difficult for the Yuzhong to deal with. But in the meantime, gold lane between the Claude as well as the Granger, I definitely do prefer to see a. I do definitely prefer to see a Granger due to the fact that he pops off a lot earlier in the pops off a lot earlier.
Yeah, I see a problem in the objective team fights alone coming in from the side of Team Indonesia, right? Where they have the Harley, they're going to have to find the flank. But meanwhile, Team Singapore have a vision problem where the Khalid will be the only main source of vision in front to try and source out where the Harley is. I believe in the Hylos versus Khalid battle, yes, they're going to be sticking onto each other, but at the same time, you won't know where the Harley is because there's no one providing that vision for Team Singapore.
In the meantime, it's going to be good for Team Singapore as well because of the fact that they do have a strong very strong pushing lane in middle. They do have very strong priority because of the Lilia as well as the Khalid in this case. In fact, Team Singapore generally have a pretty good wave clear in general. So even if they are playing from behind, they should be able to do a decent amount towards all of these creep waves. Should be able to hold out against Lord pushes all the way until the third Lord, hopefully.
Yeah, and the ability to dive the back line also coming in from the side of Team Indonesia, that's going to be a problem as well, right? Black Dragon formed.
Black Dragon form, Harley himself, and even when it comes down to the Claude, this is a pretty dive heavy matchup. And with the Glorious Pathway, it is really easy to get in and out.
Yeah, so pretty much enhanced. And Team Singapore, they are going to be expecting to be playing from that position of defense. And for Team Singapore, yeah, looks like they don't really have a way to open up into the battle. But meanwhile, for the side of Team Indonesia, they will be able to do so. Now going into game number 2, Team Indonesia versus Team Singapore. Team Indonesia one game ahead as they want to secure a clean 2-0 victory, and Team Singapore look to tie things up.
As we mentioned, and of course, you can take a look at the start of the game. Look at Alexander. I mentioned that they have a really strong pushing wave in the middle lane, but I was not expecting a very strong high-low skilling wave.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta mention, right? Roy, one of the Lilia players of all time, and now him back on that Lilia, I gotta say, I'm impressed. And he still has it and takes down Alexander, does not have the capability to go out with the revitalization, and Bellamy with the support as well.
I mean, it's a nice start for Team Singapore. That is definitely going to up their morale a little bit. However, it's not going to be that big of a deal to Team Indonesia for losing a roamer in this case.
Yeah, definitely. And now for the side of Team Indonesia right now, the ball is in their court. They do lose Alexander, but it's not going to be huge. The EXP is still going even in terms of both sides. Glorious Pathway timing will still be the same, and that first objective fight becomes that main priority.
Yep, so as long as they're able to wave clear the middle lane fast enough, they should be able to move and roam together with Junxiang as the brethren to kind of suss out exactly where a fun might potentially be, so they don't see anyone in the top lane. So Rachel will have a very good idea that the Harley somewhere around.
Yeah, great jump in onto Alexander once again, but revitalization has been popped, and this is going to be a problem, right? In the later stages of the game, where he has that glorious pathway, that revitalization is going to do so much more. Unable to burst him down now, you're not going to be able to burst him down later.
Still no information as to where Harley is, and this is the problem that you mentioned, right? Trying to open up the map well enough is ultimately going to be a big problem. Right now, Shelky. Roy.
Roy is doing it. Roy is doing have that first turtle advantage going their way. Team Singapore looking good at the start. But once again, Team Indonesia, not a team to be trifled with. As Dingarai, he's starting to pace up in terms of the farm, trying to funnel in into that mid lane cash in as well as the bottom lane.
They're not particularly too scared about losing some of these leads over to the side of Team Singapore. They will look for the time and they will make it work out.
Yeah, the flicker out coming in from the side of Tristan as the Purify and the Petrify was used, but he goes back in without the help of the flicker. He sees the team coming in, but it might have been an early call, but now with the appraisal scrap, they do take out Afan, and now with that, Team Singapore, they get the consolation 1-for-1.
It's okay. I think that's relatively a pretty good trade. Tristan may have went in a little bit early, but that could be an idea that they don't want the Harley to get out of the lane because that is the point in time where they can finally see Harley. They don't want Harley to use their hat, especially in this case, especially since I think that he already used his hat in order for that kind of situation.
Okay, theory crafting, pure copium here. Team Singapore gives up the first game, pulls out Leslie. Oh, we're so bad, but now, oh, we're so good.
We're so in.
Yeah,
we're so in.
We are so bad here, Team Singapore fans. As now Team Indonesia, they're down 2 kills. But still, that's just 1,000 gold here. This is just us joking around. And Team Indonesia, they're not out of this yet.
Not out of it.
Yeah, they will still have a lot of capabilities to come back into the game. They don't have that vision on that Harley at all times. It will be a problem once he's able to jump on to Keith or on to Roy.
They need to be careful not to throw caution into the wind right now. Team Singapore may seem like they are riding the wind and having a really good time, but a small little overconfidence would eventually be their downfall.
Yeah, definitely. And now Team Singapore, Tristan with that Infernal Pursuit, Raging Sandstorm into that flicker. Great combination to lock down the bond. And this is great defense coming in from the side of Team Indonesia as well. They do take out Bellamy, but that is a great trade for Team Singapore.
Of course, that is also a really nice speed coming from the side of Bellamy, preemptively flickering together with Afan.
Yeah, now Glorious Pathway has been used together to Black Dragon form. Now with the debut of that Black Dragon form, Roy has to pop that Black Shoes appraisal wrap into Retribution as Key comes into the battle, and Team Singapore, they clean up 3 kills ahead, but still the macro is not going their way. Dingarai, he's been farming up a storm.
4 minutes and 58 seconds. He took down every single one of these energy shield and even brought down the turret at the bottom lane. This will be a permanent swap coming in from the side of that Ranger, and he has to stick to the top lane now.
Yeah, looking at the team fight going in, they were trying to force this no matter what, while Dingarai is getting that macro advantage, right? We talked about Team Indonesia being a brawl team. They can play the macro as well, but now with that Appraisal's Wrap coming through on Dingarai, PMI away.
The main thing is you want to get as much damage as possible over to the side of Dingarai, due to the fact that he did manage to get a pretty nice content, so might as well whatever that you can.
Yeah, and there is that availability of the macro, right? With the Black Dragon 4 being used as an escape tool, a bond being used as just pressure alone, Dingarai is still going to have that space to farm. So meanwhile, Team Singapore, they need to keep it in the back of the heads, but at the same time, they can't get pulled around like a dog on a leash.
Slowly but surely, even though Team Singapore seems like they have a good lead, but the lead is not that big.
Yeah, Alexander going down here, not popping the revitalization, but still trying to make use of the macro map advantage. You see Afan and Dingarai just instantly jumping onto the creep waves, trying to keep the macro up. Despite the fact that we are 7-3 right now, still no gold lead to be mentioned of.
So right now, with the way that we are looking at the Ranger currently, he already has the Hunter Strike as well as the Sky Piercer. There is no lanes that this Ranger is going to belong unless Team Singapore have already opened up the parts of the river. So right now, as much as possible, Keith needs to follow in.
Yeah, now Tristan with that Infernal Pursuit. Alexander pops that Glorious Pathway. It will be there. RWM as well for Delvin. But at the same time, Shauki going in. He does not have the Petrify available. Keith getting a double kill, and Shauki now takes out the Frederick, and also Tristan going down in the back line as Afan does get the damage through, and now even trade 3-3 so far, but triple kill coming in for Keith on the Sky Piercer.
This is even bigger for Team Singapore to get for themselves. But Ningarai, you have to be really careful though. The BMI will essentially help him get away. And Keith, you can't overstay your welcome right now. You managed to get 4 kills for yourself, massive amount of Sky Piercer stacks. That is going to lead up to a really good upcoming fight.
Yeah, now with that turtle being up for the grabs, Jinxiang will be falling in here. Glorious Pathway already used Team Indonesia. Right now, they're 5 members strong. They want to fight this. Black Dragon form not available. Afan does have the ultimate, though. He can pop Keith on the side as this is Flying Clouds. Everybody is trying to collapse into this as the turtle now falling lower. Jinxiang does get the turtle, and now Bellamy falling extremely low. Blazing Duet being used as Zingarai takes out Bellamy. Now Bellamy. Yes, a great consolation coming out from the side of Jinxiang with the appraisal strap into that taunt, and Keith getting that Sky Piercer stack down.
Oh, such a juicy appraisal strap. We don't get to see that very often, being slapped right onto a clod, which is a backline, by the way. So right now, even though Team Singapore has got a lot of those Sky Piercer stacks go over to Keith, got halved in the end of the day, and now Team Indonesia, they have managed to reclaim control of the land of Dawn, getting themselves a total of 3,000 gold lead. And this is going to be the part where things start to get really difficult. Keith would now have a difficulty in surviving because of the presence of Afan, while Dingarai more or less have got really good farm already and will play for teamfight very effectively too.
Yeah, I mean, for Team Singapore, it feels like they are forced to stick together. Meanwhile, for the Team Indonesian guys, right, they can play apart, right? They can play in a single unit. They have so much survivability, and that is the highlight of their lineup so far. And this is the power of the Claude. You can leave Delvin with Alexander. Meanwhile, the other 3, they can just roam around the map.
So now, the Lord is finally spawned, and Team Singapore, they're looking for an opportunity to eventually just ride with it.
Yeah, right now they still need to be wary of the Granger. He's dealing decent damage onto the members, but of course he has to resource utility and just cycle that through with the Glorious Pathway being popped from the side of Alexander. Does not get the stun so far. And Team Indonesia right now, they will be still dancing.
Yep, they will have to regroup for now. Tristan has already used a flicker for himself, and right now Team Indonesia, they are releasing the Lord back over to the hands of Singapore in order to play and dance around the board.
Yeah, with this control though, RWM after pop, Jinxiang extremely low, Appraisal Grasp not connecting, but Alexander goes down. But the jungler is caught from the side of Team Singapore, Team Indonesia. They know this, they pounce, they strike Dingarai with the Blazing Duet, doing so much here. 3 members already down, and more to follow, as it will be a complete wipeout. Team Indonesia, double kill for Dalvin.
And now they're trying to do their absolute best to take down as much of the standing objective. But the mid-wave lane will definitely crash in, and bottom lane as well. All of the outer turrets coming from Team Singapore will undoubtedly be taken away, while this Lord being taken by Dingarai will not be challenged at all.
Yeah, definitely. It is going to be a clean take. We saw the moment the target prioritization was down onto Jinxiang, right? They knew that it was their opportunity to strike. There's nothing to protect them in that front lane at all. Yes, you have Raging Sandstorm. So what? We have Blazing Duet, and currently it's at critical mass.
This is a very difficult fight for Team Singapore as they all got scattered around like little ants the moment that they see that Bagon just sprayed all over them. Team Singapore, they got themselves in a really difficult spot. They constantly want to get themselves the Lord and wants to be the one to be the main power holder. But unfortunately, Team Indonesia, they are way too far ahead now. They know that they can re-engage anytime, and before they even had that previous fight, they have already baited out the flicker coming in from the side of Tristan.
Yeah, good teams know how to play when they're behind, and Team Indonesia right now, they aren't behind anymore as they do with that Glorious Pathway. Now with the rule of manipulation, Dingarai with the Blazing Duet in the back, so much damage onto the side of Team Singapore. Team Indonesia are tearing through the front lines at the moment. They take out the inhibitor turret. 3 members already down. Shouty might go down here, but the base will not be left standing for the side of Team Singapore. As Team Indonesia, they focus fire down the crystal, and they take the game 2-0.
It was a kind of a lot of closer game for the hands of Team Singapore. But as per normal, every time when we look at Team Indonesia, they will always regain control by the mid stages of the game. And to be exact, I think it's somewhere around 8 minutes that they start to really show what they are made of, because they know when is going to be their critical mass and when they can really start to extend the lead as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, they understand that the usage of the utility was there for the side of Team Singapore, right? Once they see that the weakness was there for the side of Fredrin, they knew that, identified that one frontliner is only available for the side of Team Singapore. Once that weakness is there, they start to pounce because they were testing it out with the macro plays on the top side, on the bottom side. Let's see how Team Singapore responds.
Now, of course, we are allowing, I'm not sure whether it's allowing, but it feels like it's mini conditioning onto Team Singapore. Like, okay, we're gonna give you a little bit of this here, we're gonna give you a little bit of this here, and in the end of the day, it's just allocating resource from the side of Singapore. Yeah, four-man dive onto one, four-man dive onto one. But in the meantime, Harley's out there somewhere farming, just split pushing. We've got Claude all the way down to the bottom lane, and in the early stages of the game, just as he reached 5 minutes, he already took down one turret with a lot of that energy shield taken away as well.
And Dalvin with the Eve, securing a 4-0-13 scoreline for himself. The RWM timings on this guy, just clean and amazing, right? We saw them trying to just dive in, trying to take out the RWM for themselves, but for Team Singapore, it felt like Delvin was out of reach.
He is actually very out of reach, right? No death at all, and of course, being one of the important players, he don't wander alone in most of these cases. Yes, it definitely seems as though Team Indonesia gave a lot of free kills over to Team Singapore, but it honestly really didn't matter too much because that's the roller, that's the XP laner, and a little bit of this and that condition, and they got themselves a lot of farm, especially for the side of Team, especially for the side of Delvin. Every time the box opens up, Team Singapore kind of scattered away like ants.
Yeah, if you take a look at the win conditions coming through as well, Zingarai, of course, only one death, and that was greed on his part, right? Chasing a very low Fredrin into a Brazil's Wrath, and for the rest of the game itself, it feels like there was so much macro, despite the fact that they were behind. They played that Claude, they played that Harley extremely well, together combined with the Yuzhong as well. And it feels like for Team Singapore, yes, they did win the 5-on-5 because they're innate team fight. They're meant to win the 5-on-5. But afterwards, they're meant to convert the objectives. But it seems like they were being dragged towards those macro objectives.
So the thing about Team Singapore's lineup is that they do want to play front to back, right? The main thing is front to back, and Team Indonesia, they have one hack of big wall, and that is going to be the Hylos. At one point in time, Indonesia can keep running their faces right into Team Singapore, and understandably, Singapore have to slowly withdraw because they can't allow Keith as the marksman to end up being in the front row. Because their front line is always going to keep stepping back. They're keeping some ways over to Team Indonesia, and at one point in time, the back will be up against the wall. And Alexander still has not died just yet, and that is when the execution from Team Indonesia as a dive bomb starts to come in. Break up the entire team of Team Singapore. When they have no more way to go back, they have to go left and right, and that splits up the entire composition.
Yeah, basic team fight timing as well coming in from side Team Indonesia. They always fight when the creeps are up there to take an objective as well. It feels like for Team Singapore, they are playing with that gaps in the timing very well. They did have the creeps to work with, but at the same time, very good wave clear coming out from Team Indonesia, right? They had that if they used the box to try and just clear out the creep wave, and then suddenly, well, we can't take an objective.
It's really hard to swallow at the fact that, game number two, Team Singapore seemed like they had it. We are all looking at the game and Team Singapore is getting a kill there everywhere, and even to the point that there is a lot of very good funneling of kills and bombs over to the side of Kiev. That really seemed as though we are starting to get a snowball out of that green zone, which is something that you really don't want to see, especially since it is a front-to-back strategy. The main part is to lock down on the ranger so that he do not have enough firepower to just melt down that Hylos.
Yeah, And that was a very, very ugly time bomb that they were keeping for Team Indonesia, right? The Claude was there. Man, oh man, if you're not convinced that Claude is good, they were behind, right?
They were behind this time. They were behind this
And
time.
Claude brought them back in front because they kept them on the back of the minds. Now, Group A, looking at the top, Team Indonesia, 3-0 with 6 points. And sadly for Team Singapore, 0-3 in the bottom so far. We'll be looking more towards Group A today, as I believe the next match is going to be Team Malaysia versus Team Myanmar. But looking at second place, Team Philippines, so far they have yet to play their third match. And Team Vietnam, Team Laos, Team Cambodia as followed. They are getting that top 5 seed so far, but this is only day 2 as we move further into the brackets.
So, manifestation. They have to win every single game from this point on.
It can happen, especially against Team Philippines, right? If we can, sure. Team Singapore loses to Team Indonesia, yeah, we grow better and we groom our talents, and yeah, we can fight Team Philippines.
They will be going up against Team Philippines on the June 21st, which happens to be the final day. They will also go up against Team Myanmar on that day as well. So, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll see how that
We'll see
goes,
how that
but
goes.
I'm also excited for the next match. It's going to be Team Malaysia versus Team Myanmar.
So make sure you guys come back in on over to the stream to watch that game. Don't go anywhere too far, as we'll be right back with you in a jiffy.
Aku kembali dari neraka demi dirinya. Nona Hanami, jangan sia-siakan pertemuan ini. than a hero. The enemy is picking. Hanabi, Sanjo. Your team is picking. Akulah cahaya rembulan yang menembus kegelapan. The enemy is picking.
3.000 dunia.
Harapan akan tetap
Tidak
ada,
ada satu pun
bahkan
lawan
ketika
yang
semuanya terasa menyedihkan.
tinju dibalas tinju.
Please pick a hero.
Aku lebih dari sekadar senjata.
Pohon terkokoh juga lahir dari benih yang kecil.
Siap, maju.
Alpha telah diaktifkan.
Sihirku akan menciptakan dunia yang baru. biasanya datang sebelum kekalahan. Benih kehidupan ada di seluruh penjuru negeri ini.
An ally has slain the turtle.
Aku selalu gagal menemukan para manusia.
Killing spree. Ally has been initiate retreat. Okay.
Sama dengan angin
Launch attack.
yang datang dari
Unstoppable.
ke tanah. Waktu mengajarkanmu hal-hal yang tidak bisa dipelajari dari buku.
Ini tertutup sama semua gitu.
Your team destroyed a turret.
Sama kaliannya
Under attack.
lihatlah apa coba.
Tidak akan pernah hilang.
Mulai.
Shut down. Solo kill.
Ini tertinggi.
An enemy has been slain. Great play.
Semuanya sangat berharga.
Waduh.
Sabar buat aku selalu gagal menemukan para manusia. Waktu mengajarkan hal-hal yang tidak bisa dipelajari dari
Your team destroyed a turret.
dengan angin. Dalam kematian, aku akan lahir kembali.
Mantap bang.
Waktu mengajarkan hal-hal yang tidak bisa dipelajari dari
Mega kill. Quick fire. Double kill.
Bukannya ada yang
Victory.
pohon Semoga juga lahir dari benih itu.
Darah ini bukan lahir dari kebencian, melainkan bukti nyata dan
yang